June 1876, the Greasy Grass Valley trembles as Custer's 7th Cavalry charges into a storm of 1,500 Lakota warriors, the heart of a defiant alliance. With painted horses, a shattered sun shield, and a whispered prophecy, the Lakota turned the plains into a legend's grave. Were they the mightiest tribe ever to ride the frontier? A carved arrow and a hidden vow hold the truth. Join Frontier Chronicles to uncover why the Lakota's shadow still looms over history, and if their power was unmatched. Hey folks, welcome to Frontier Chronicles, broadcasting from the thunderous plains of Bozeman, Montana, where the wind still carries the echoes of war cries. I'm Jake Harlan, and today we're charging into June 25, 1876, where the Greasy Grass Valley became a crucible of fire, blood, and legend. George Armstrong Custer, the golden-haired hero of the Civil War, led 600 men of the 7th Cavalry into what he thought was a routine sweep against a scattered band of savages. But he rode into the shadow of the Lakota, the beating heart of a 2,500 warrior alliance with Cheyenne and Arapaho, a force that turned the Great Plains into a nightmare for the U.S. Army. Were the Lakota the mightiest tribe ever to ride the frontier? Let's dive into their triumph at Little Bighorn and unearth the roots of their unstoppable power. The Powder River country was a powder keg by 1876. The 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty had promised the Black Hills to the Lakota, a sacred land where buffalo roamed and spirits dwelled, but by 1874, 15,000 gold prospectors, backed by Washington's greed, flooded in, shattering the agreement, as D. Brown details in Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. The Lakota, uniting Hunkpapa, Oglala, Minneconjou, and Sans Arc bands, formed a massive village of 10,000 along the Little Bighorn River, a defiant stand against the invaders, per Nathaniel Philbrick's The Last Stand. At the helm stood Sitting Bull, a Hunkpapa chief whose spiritual authority bound the tribes, and Crazy Horse, the Oglala war leader whose tactical brilliance struck like lightning, as Robert Utley describes in Cavalier in Buckskin. The Lakota were the backbone of the alliance, fielding over 1,500 of the 2,500 warriors, 60% of the fighting force. Sitting Bull, a mystic and strategist, held a sundance ceremony days before, piercing his arms, dancing under the blazing sun until a vision came, soldiers falling like leaves from the sky, a prophecy of victory, per Brown. Crazy Horse, commanding over 1,000 riders, orchestrated the battlefield from the riverbanks to the hills, his spiral tactic encircling enemies like a tightening noose. Gall, leading the Hunkpapa's left wing, anchored the defense, while Minneconjou and Sans Arc warriors guarded the village's flanks, per Philbrick. Their horses, painted with handprints to ward off bullets, charged like spirits unbound, their war cries shaking the valley. The battle's outcome hinged on the Lakota. When Custer split his forces, sending Major Reno to attack the villages south, Gall's countercharge drove him back, scattering his 140 men, as Utley notes. Crazy Horse then led the decisive strike, his riders surrounding Custer's 268-man battalion on Last Stand Hill, wiping them out in under 2 hours, per Brown. Without the Lakota's numbers, leadership, and coordination, the alliance might have faltered, and Custer could have lived. In 1877, a Crow scout found a Lakota arrow near the Greasy Grass, carved with "Blood for the Hills" in Sioux script, half buried in the earth. A Hunkpapa elder, White Elk, spoke in 1880 of a pre-battle dream, the river sang of victory, and the grass danced. In 1879, a trader unearthed a cracked sun shield near the battlefield, marked "Lakota Forever," and stained with blood. Was it a warrior's final vow? A 1881 journal entry from a Cheyenne ally hinted at a secret Lakota ritual before the fight, binding the tribes with a blood oath. Why did the Lakota dominate the alliance? What did that arrow and shield conceal? Whose dream lit the spark? Hey folks, Jake Harlan back with Frontier Chronicles, broadcasting from the windswept plains of Bozeman, Montana, where the spirit of the Lakota still thunders. Last time, we charged into June 25, 1876, where the Lakota, leading a 2,500 warrior alliance with Cheyenne and Arapaho, crushed Custer's 7th Cavalry at Little Bighorn, their 1,500 fighters forming the backbone of victory, as D. Brown recounts in Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. Sitting Bull's vision and Crazy Horse's spiral tactics turned the Greasy Grass into a graveyard for 268 soldiers. But what made the Lakota so formidable? Were they truly the mightiest tribe of the frontier? Today, we dive into their unmatched military prowess, vast territorial control, and cultural fire that united nations. Buckle up, this is the heart of their legend. The Lakota's strength was forged in war. By the mid-19th century, they dominated the northern Great Plains, spanning modern-day Dakotas, Nebraska, and Montana, driving out rivals like the Pawnee and Crow with relentless hit-and-run raids, per Nathaniel Philbrick's The Last Stand. Their warriors, trained from boyhood in elite societies like the Strong Hearts, mastered one-handed horseback archery, earning them the title, Samurai of the Plains, as Robert Utley notes in Cavalier in Buckskin. At Little Bighorn, Crazy Horse's spiral tactic, riders circling enemies like a tightening noose, overwhelmed Custer's divided forces, while Gall's Hunkpapa wing used terrain to crush Major Reno's attack, per Brown. Their horses, painted with sacred symbols to defy bullets, moved like extensions of the warrior's will, a skill honed through generations. Their territorial reach was staggering. By 1870, the Lakota controlled a region larger than Texas, their buffalo hunt sustaining a population of tens of thousands, per Philbrick. The Black Hills, promised by the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty but invaded by 15,000 prospectors, were their spiritual and economic core. Unlike other tribes, the Lakota didn't just defend, they expanded, absorbing smaller bands like the Assiniboine through diplomacy or force, as Utley details. Their ability to forge alliances was unmatched. At Little Bighorn, they united Cheyenne and Arapaho, overcoming old rivalries, with Sitting Bull's spiritual leadership as the glue, per Brown. His Sundance vision wasn't just prophecy, it was a call that rallied disparate tribes into a nation. The Lakota's cultural power amplified their might. Their shamans, like Sitting Bull, led rituals that fused war with spirituality, inspiring warriors to fight as if guided by the spirits, per Philbrick. By the 1880s, they sparked the ghost dance movement, a spiritual revival that spread across tribes, cementing their role as cultural leaders. In 1878, a trader at Fort Laramie found a hidden Lakota war journal, its pages etched with battle sketches and a vow, "The hills are ours." Was it a record of their strategies? In 1880, a Cheyenne scout spoke of a Lakota ritual before Little Bighorn, where warriors swore a blood oath under a moonlit sky, binding their fates. A 1882 find, a bone whistle near the Greasy Grass, carved with Lakota stands, hinted at a secret signal used in battle. Why were their tactics so deadly? What did that journal hide? Whose oath sealed their unity? Hey folks, Jake Harlan back with Frontier Chronicles, broadcasting from the untamed plains of Bozeman, Montana, where the Lakota's war cries still echo through time. We've charged through their 1876 triumph at Little Bighorn, where 1,500 Lakota warriors, led by Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, and Gall, crushed Custer's 7th Cavalry, as D. Brown recounts in Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. Last time, we unpacked their unmatched military tactics, vast territorial control, and cultural fire that united tribes like Cheyenne and Arapaho, per Nathaniel Philbrick's The Last Stand. But were the Lakota the mightiest native tribe ever? Today, we compare them to giants like the Comanche, Iroquois, Apache, and Cherokee, weighing their strengths and legacies. A hidden curse will leave you questioning their place in history. Let's dive in. The Lakota's dominance at Little Bighorn, 60% of the 2,500 warrior alliance, set a high bar, per Robert Utley's Cavalier in Buckskin. Their spiral tactics, one-handed horseback archery, and control of the northern Great Plains, spanning modern Dakotas to Montana, made them a juggernaut, as Brown notes. But other tribes rivaled their might. The Comanche, dubbed the Emperors of the South, ruled the southern plains, their cavalry skills outmatching even the Lakota, with raids across Texas and Mexico from 1700 to 1870, per Philbrick. Their mobility and horse-based economy mirrored the Lakotas, but their smaller bands lacked the Lakota's scale, controlling less territory. The Iroquois Confederacy, a union of 5, later 6, nations in the Northeast, wielded political sophistication unmatched by most, including the Lakota, per Utley. From the 1600s, they balanced alliances with European powers, their council system resembling a proto-republic, but their strength waned by the 1800s due to colonial wars. The Apache, led by figures like Geronimo, mastered guerrilla warfare, terrorizing U.S. and Mexican armies in the Southwest's deserts into the 1880s, per Brown. Their hit-and-run tactics echoed the Lakotas, but their smaller numbers limited their reach. The Cherokee, with a written language and 1827 constitution, adapted to Euro-American systems, yet their forced removal on the Trail of Tears in 1838 crippled their power, per Philbrick. The Lakotas' edge was their blend of military might, territorial dominance, and spiritual leadership. Their role in the ghost dance movement of the 1880s, uniting tribes in a spiritual revival, set them apart, as Utley describes. In 1883, a trader at Pine Ridge found a Lakota scroll, buried near a sacred hill, inscribed with, "The grass curses the thief." A Hunkpapa elder, singing wolf, claimed it was a vow from Little Bighorn, "The plains will speak until our hills return." In 1885, a Cheyenne ally spoke of a Lakota ritual where warriors burn sage, swearing to fight until the stars fall. A 1890 find, a bone knife near the Greasy Grass, etched with "Forever Free," hinted at their enduring defiance. Were the Lakota unmatched? What did that scroll foretell? Whose curse haunts the plains? Hey folks, Jake Harlan here, wrapping up our epic saga with frontier chronicles from the windswept plains of Bozeman, Montana, where the Lakota spirit still gallops free. We've stormed through their 1876 triumph at Little Bighorn, where 1,500 Lakota warriors, led by Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, and Gall, obliterated Custer's 7th Cavalry, as D. Brown recounts in Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. We've unpacked their unmatched war tactics, vast territorial reign, and cultural fire that rivaled tribes like the Comanche and Iroquois, per Nathaniel Philbrick's The Last Stand. Today, we explore the Lakota's enduring legacy, from the ghost dance to modern battles for the Black Hills, and a final relic that whispers of their unbreakable soul. This is their story's last ride, let's charge in. The victory at Little Bighorn was a blazing comet, but its light faded fast. The U.S. Army, humiliated by the loss of 268 men, unleashed a relentless campaign, breaking the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty that promised the Black Hills to the Lakota, now overrun by 15,000 prospectors, per Robert Utley's Cavalier in Buckskin. By 1877, Crazy Horse was dead, killed under murky circumstances at Fort Robinson. Sitting Bull fled to Canada, only to return to a reservation in 1881, per Brown. The Lakota's Plains empire crumbled, yet their spirit ignited the ghost dance by 1889, a spiritual revival promising the return of the buffalo and the old ways, per Philbrick. This movement, born of Lakota shamans, spread to tribes across the West, a testament to their cultural reach. The ghost dance alarmed the U.S., leading to the 1890 Wounded Knee Massacre, where 200 Lakota died, per Brown. But the Lakota's defiance didn't end. Their victory at Little Bighorn redefined savagery, forcing America to question who the true invaders were, as Utley notes. In 2003, the Indian Memorial at Little Bighorn honored Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, shifting focus from Custer's myth to native resilience, per Philbrick. In 2025, Lakota descendants, citing the 1868 treaty, fight in court for the Black Hills, their legal battles echoing the war cries of 1876, per recent filings. In 1891, a trader found a Lakota stone circle near Pine Ridge, etched with, "Hills are ours, forever." A Hunkpapa elder, singing wolf, claimed it sealed a prophecy, "The grass will weep until our land breathes again." In 1900, a cavalryman's journal, uncovered in 1985, mentioned a Lakota chant heard post-battle, "The stars will fall before we kneel." The Lakota's legacy isn't just in battles but in their challenge to history's narrative. They weren't the only mighty tribe. Comanche ruled the South, Iroquois the East, but none matched the Lakota's blend of military, spiritual, and unifying power. Their story lives in songs, protests, and the wind over the greasy grass. Were they the greatest? What does that stone circle hide? Will the plains prophecy come true? Drop your thoughts below, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for more Frontier Chronicles.